As a part of educational reforms brought about by our school education department, handbook is one of them. The handbook is subject specific, and this helps in improving the professional development of teachers, and it contains lesson plans, pedagogical strategies, and self-reflection tools. So let us deep dive into this teacher's handbook. That means how we can utilize, what is the purpose of the teacher's handbook, and everything related to the teacher's handbook is going to be discussed from here on. Now let us know why the teacher's handbook is provided for us. It helps the teacher for effective classroom instruction, as it is aligned with the curricular goals and competencies discussed in NEP 2020 and NCF 2023. The teacher's handbook has learner-centered and inclusive teaching strategies which will help us in approaching each and every lesson, and the teacher's handbook is provided with well-structured lesson plans and assessments, and the teacher's handbook had integration of resources and standards which enhance teaching practices and also helpful in continuous professional development of the teacher, which is the need of the day. And the teacher's handbook had strategies for inclusive education which helps in success of all the students. Now let us briefly check what are the components of teacher's handbook. The teacher's handbook consists of general information, year plan, an academic calendar, lesson plans, teacher resources, and teacher diary. The general information consists of examination schedule, monthly working days and holidays, and also the holidays for all kinds of schools. After the general information, we have the year plan. That means you all know that the year plan consists of the chapter, and it should be completed in the given month, and number of instructional periods, non-instructional periods, all will be given in the year plan. Then the academic calendar. It consists of week-wise and period-wise schedule of what to do in a particular period, and it will have QR codes for no bag day, cluster complex, and teacher resources. Now let us know about the lesson plan part. First of all, we'll understand how a lesson plan should be written. Then we'll go into an example of lesson plan. So the lesson plan starts with a tabular form which shows name of the unit, name of the subtopic, that means the number of subtopics into which a unit is divided will be given in this column, and number of periods required for each subtopic should be written, and the timeline of teaching, that means the period in which we are going to teach the lesson or subtopic. If you want to write any specific information, that means in terms of resources or activities going to be done, can be written in any specific information. At the beginning of each and every lesson plan, there is a QR code related to the lesson will be given, and this will be an additional resource for the teachers. Then coming to the next part of the lesson plan, it consists of prior concepts and skills. These are the essential concepts or skills to be checked or to be identified before teaching the concept. Then we have the learning outcomes. That is, we have this year we are calling them as a taxonomy of learning outcomes. is given, and each period is aligned with a learning outcome. Then the next phase in the lesson plan is teaching learning process. That is what is going to happen in the classroom. And the teaching learning process starts with introduction or induction. That means for this we have to we have to generate interest, or we can inform students about the outcomes and expectations for the lesson. In this regard, we can pose a triggering question, or we can say a hook line, so that this will grab the attention of students into the lesson. Then the next step is experience and reflection. Here we'll give a task or question which helps the students to explore the concept and connect with their life. That means whatever the situations that are related to the topic, they have to recall in this experience and reflection. Now coming to the next step, that is actual teaching. And here in this part we have three aspects. One is explicit teaching or teacher modeling, that is I do. That means this is the part which is done by the teacher himself, and the students will be a passive listeners or active listeners. Only the students are listeners. Then group work. Here the teacher and students together work to understand the concept or to learn the concept. And then finally the independent work, that is you do. That means the student has to do by himself and learn as a part of self-learning. We can call it a self-learning process. Here in teacher modeling or I do, we added check for understanding questions. As these questions are asked by the teacher in the classroom, the questions may be factual or open-ended or critical thinking questions. And in independent work, that means in students part, there is student practice questions and activities. That means the exercises from workbooks or textbooks, they have to do on their own. Let us understand the theory behind the lesson plan that we are discussing. We are following a pattern or framework called gradual release of responsibility, which is an instructional model that shifts cognitive responsibility from teachers to students through a structured process. This framework consists of 4 phases. These 4 phases consist of focused instruction. That means we have to set clear learning goals. The teacher has to set clear learning goals and model skills using think alouds. And then group guided instruction. Here in guided instruction, scaffold learning with questions, prompts and cues. Use robust questions to spark thinking. That means we have to use more number of questions so that the student starts thinking and starts involving in the lesson. Then collaborative learning. Encourage productive group work with interdependence, and design tasks that promote productive failure also. Let them fail. And finally, independent learning. Create tasks for fluency, review and application. Foster metacognition and self-regulation. This is nothing but teaching your kid to how to ride a bicycle. Initially we'll show how to ride a bicycle, and then we'll hold the back of the cycle so that the child will balance, and finally we'll leave the child. sometimes the child may fall and sometimes they pick up the riding position and they'll ride. The same principle is applied here in gradual release of responsibility. Finally, in the lesson plan, we'll have summary. That means uh, what the student has learned will be given in the form of a gist or summary. This year we'll have summary videos which span for around 3 minutes on each and every period on each and every learning outcome, and then there will be assessment, and this assessment tests the students understanding of the concept. Now the next aspect in the teacher's handbook for every unit is teacher's diary and reflections. First of all, the teacher's diary. The teacher's diary consists of the name of concept and the date on which that concept is taught, and what are the TLM used we have to mention here, and we have to give the rating for students' response into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 only based on the observations that we do in the classroom. Then topics intended to reteach. If at all needed, we have to reteach the topics, some of the concepts maybe, and additional resources are going to be used to reteach. That also we have to mention here in this teacher's diary. And then after completion of the lesson, there is a space for signature of the teacher and signature of the HM. So the teacher has to sign this aspect and as well as get it signed by the HM. The teacher's reflections are just like self-evaluation. That means in this regard we have to mention what are the specific strategies that we had followed and what is the action plan that we had followed, and any difficulties that we faced or any additional resources or modifications that we need and how we adjusted. So for all these aspects we have to come up with some action plan that should be recorded here in this teacher reflections table, and then any specific information in this we can write any specific information related to the lesson. Now let us discuss a model lesson. So by going through this model lesson or this lesson plan, we'll get some idea on how our teaching should be in the classroom. So the model lesson is for a period, and here the model lesson is on aerobic and anaerobic respiration. For this, the learning objective is the student will be able to differentiate between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Always remember, the lesson will be tested based on the learning objective. Then the prior concepts and skills. Here the student will have some knowledge of respiration and fermentation process which he learned from 8th class onwards. And then coming to the igniting activity or hook line, that means the introduction. Here the hook line for this lesson is, imagine you are running a marathon. Where does your body get the energy to keep you going? That means marathon is a long run, and to run such a long distance, how our body gets the energy? That is the hook line or igniting question, which we have to allow the students to think for only 2 minutes. afterwards we should start the lesson, that is I do we should start. In the teaching learning process, explicit teaching, teacher modeling, I do. And in this, the teacher has to teach. As already mentioned, the teacher has to teach, and in this, the teacher can introduce the concept of cellular respiration and its importance in living organisms, and the teacher has to explain the process of cellular respiration, including glycolysis, aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration, and the teacher can use diagrams or illustrations to explain how the glucose is being broken down and the production of ATP. And here the teacher can also lead a class discussion on this topic and the importance of oxygen in aerobic respiration and the consequences of impaired cellular respiration. And the teacher can ask factual questions or open-ended questions wherever the teacher feels necessary. It can be in between the lesson or it can be at the end of the lesson. And the teacher modeling aspect should span only up to 8 minutes. It can be a continuous 8-minute period, or it can be broken into small periods based on the pace at which the teacher planned to teach the lesson. And then the next step, that is the group work, we do. Here the teacher and students together do the group activities. In this, the teacher has to divide the students into small groups and assign each group a different scenario, such as intense exercise or low oxygen levels. And here the teacher induce a discussion and then comparison. Here the teacher has to set certain rules to complete the group activities. The rules should cover: the teacher has to define clear objectives and goals and assign roles and responsibilities to each and every group, provide clear instructions and guidelines, encourage respectful communication, foster teamwork and collaboration, manage time effectively, that means time boxing, then encourage active participation of each and every student, hold a debriefing session and collect feedback from group members. You should ensure that each and every group member should contribute something for the activity. Then evaluate the activity's effectiveness. Then encourage creativity and problem solving. That means the teacher can encourage if any creative expression is given or creative solution is given for the activities, and then manage conflicts constructively. There will be an argument that should be managed in a constructive manner, and then ensure equal participation or opportunities for each and every student. So by following all these rules, we can conduct group activities. And here for the completion of group activities, the time limit that is given is 12 minutes. So in 12 minutes we have to plan the group activities. If only one activity can be completed, then it should be completed in a full-fledged manner. Then the next step of the teaching learning process is you do, independent practice. Here the student has to do on their own. Here the students can be asked to draw the diagram of cellular respiration pathway, or they can be asked to write a short report on importance of ATP in cellular process and its role in energy transfer. Here The homework is also be a part of you do phase of the teaching learning process. And for students independent practice, the time limit is 8 minutes. So that student independent practice should be completed in 8 minutes. This is the flow chart that we can use to teach this lesson, or any resource the teacher can utilize for the effective transaction of the concept. Now the closing of the lesson. And the closing of the lesson should be done in 8 minutes. It consists of summary, which can be summarized by the teacher. The lesson can be summarized by the teacher, and also the teacher can show the summary video provided. The teacher can give assessment, so that the assessment should reflect the learning outcome of the lesson. So this is how we should teach the lesson, and we should use the lesson plan to teach the lesson, and so that we can achieve the learning outcomes and to make the student better acquaint with the concept. Thank you.